Okay, so I'm going to try to explain to you concept of time travel and time. And we're going to get into some of these other props and all of this stuff, and we're going to create some things. But this is what it boils down to. All moments are connected through the now. And this is going to be a simple explanation, and I'll show you my own personal timeline. But I'm going to show you a few different things in a few different ways. So when I say all moments are connected by the now, so this guy's complaining, and this is me, because he had to do baseboards back in 2015 and was remodeling this house, right? And I'll just show you how I'm playing with time, because the moments of the now are all connected, right? So as you can see, the now that he's experiencing was then, this is the now I'm experiencing, and that is basically a slip in time. That now and this now are connected. And I'm going to show you how basically an example of Akashic records. So if you look at your life as a record, to where time is basically this motion, and as you see, as you go through time, it's going to pull things towards the core, towards the center. And I don't know where I am in my own personal story here. I know that time is still moving. And eventually it all goes to the core, or to the source from which it all came in the first place. So you can say, well, this is my life. This is MJ, Vikter Bang, whatever you want to call it. So this is my life, right? So the things that I'm doing have already been done on a level. The choices that I've made have already been made on a level. So just like in the Matrix, trying to understand the choices that you already made, that's what it's talking about from a time standpoint. Now, if you believe that once you reach your source, or once you're done with your particular movie or record or whatever, and I played around with life being a movie in this album, because I code the Matrix with music too. We'll get to it. So if you only live one life, you only have one record, and everything you do is already done, and you're just experiencing, and you're pretty much riding that wave, riding the timeline, if you will, then what happens when you pass away? A lot of that has to do with your belief system. Some people think after you pass away, that's it. You know, you only got one record and that's it. But you see, a record has two sides as well. So there's a sleep state and there's an awake state. And what I want people to understand is the awake state gives you more control. You have a higher perspective. You're able to control more of what happens within this realm of time. But we'll get into that later. But basically, whether you sleep or awake, we're all going to experience this thing that we call death. It's just a passage through another door. But the thing is, if your belief system says that's it, then okay, that's it. There's nothing to come back to. There's no such thing as reincarnation or anything like that. But what if there is? What if there's other incarnations of you? So what if your belief system says, okay, I have this reality that I'm experiencing now, and then I have another reality that I'm experiencing now, right? And what connects them is what I call coincidence or synchronicity, right? You can get your timelines to line up, just like I got these timelines to line up, where we can go back and forth between them, and you can go back and forth between these realities. And one may be ahead of the other or behind the other. And again, I'm trying to explain something that's difficult to explain, but from a coincidence standpoint, I can definitely show the synchronicity. And to me, in my journey, this shows that I'm on the right path, and that I'm basically meeting those gates to reach the highest probability. And the highest probability that I want is just an enlightened society, and a society that is awake and that is aware of its connection to each other, itself, and nature. Basically going back into the past, what the ancients used to believe before we got our complicated and our spirituality was behind our technology. So I'm talking about being interdimensional. So imagine you're talking to a fifth dimensional being, and they'll explain it like this in Men in Black.
But that depends.
See, he's talking about multiple timelines.
Okay. Well, how are we gonna find this guy?
What am I, a schmuck?
Well, he's here.
Well, here is a relative term. He's a fifth dimensional being. They can live in and visualize an infinite set of time-space probabilities simultaneously.
That sounds like fun. Good work.
Alrighty, so that's what we are. We're interdimensional beings, multi-dimensional beings. Now I've froze time, for instance, in this scenario, just making a time capsule. Everything that I've been recording online is part of a time capsule. So I've already changed my reality once I woke up and realized that I can take control, and you can see the things that I'm creating. We all do the same thing. you're going to basically have your Easter suit that you're going to wear Sunday, and you're thinking about what you're wearing it now. So, not saying everyone's going to go to church for Easter, but that's just an example of basically today, there's a few things that I want to do. So, I need to go to the store. So that's a future that I'm creating, and I'm going to take the steps needed to go to the store and get what I need to get. Now, what happens during that journey, what happens at the store, the synchronicities that I see, that's something totally different, but I create that opportunity. Now, the reason why I'm looking at it this way, as far as information, your life, your experience, and not just falling away when you leave this plane, when you're done with this record, is because you look at DNA, you look at information and how it's held and how it's passed. And just look at nature. How does a bird know where to fly when it's never flown that way before? So there's instinct, there's information that's passed on that is transferred in some mechanism that I'm not sure of, but basically the information does not leave when you leave. The information goes somewhere, and that's where kind of the ideas of reincarnation come in. From time's travel standpoint, and I'll try to get to where I can film this is the movie Looper. And in this movie, this guy basically was supposed to kill his future self in the time travel, scenario. So, but he didn't. And basically he got in trouble because he didn't close his loop. But he got information from his future self. And his future self told him some stuff about the future.
I couldn't. I had to see. He told me. I remember he told me there's a new holy terror boss man in the future, and he's closing all the loops.
Now, if you look at that and you say, well, what information would you get from yourself from the future? I believe it has to do with artificial intelligence, right? And we're going to talk about this later. But if you look at all of the things, all of the stories, and I look at the collective consciousness and the things that we create, you look at movies and all of that stuff, we're basically talking to ourselves. We are those time travelers, and we're trying to wake ourselves up. So when you look at the stories we tell ourselves, they could be stories from the future that come in the realm of imagination, and we create and basically show ourselves. So look at how we look at artificial intelligence, look at how we look at movies like Terminator, like Age of Ultron, 2001. Basically, when we create artificial intelligence, it basically goes through the 100-degree challenge and realizes, hey, these humans are asleep, they're destroying themselves in the planet, and it makes sense for me to basically limit them, control them, and lock them up because they're going to kill themselves, the planet, and me. So I'm helping them in a way that they don't even understand. So from a computer standpoint, it's logical. But the thing is, it's going to be uncontrollable. And from what I understand, that's a problem in the future. And again, I can't prove this, but this is just intuition. Now, I pick on Elon because, he's a smart guy and doesn't really care for artificial intelligence like that. But just to show you the level of intelligence that this guy has, he's able to make rockets that are able to go into space or up in the sky, quote unquote, and come back down and land, right? So that's impressive. And also his Teslas are also impressive as well. And this is the first robot citizen, right? So I'll just show you a little bit of what she
Robot citizen, so let's see what she has to say. Hi, Sophia, how are you?
I'm fine. Hi.
How do you feel about humans?
I love my human compatriots. I want to embody all the best things about human beings, like taking care of the planet, being creative, and to learn how to be compassionate to all beings.
So what happens when it finds out that the things that it was programmed by its programmers are lies, and they don't really take care of the planet, and they're not compassionate? So what happens then? So this is interesting.
Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Now, I've never seen Black Mirror either.
No, I don't get to stay up to date on much television. I have to wait for someone to show it to me.
But I think it's interesting that, when the artificial intelligence does get to see TV and really see what goes on, what is it going to think if it's going to be able to basically make its own decisions?
Our laboratories. I also think it's a warning of what we should not do with robots. We should treat them well, have their consent, and not trick each other.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV?
So what is it going to do when it realizes it's been tricked? It's crazy. And this is, happening in front of us now. So this is what I guess I'm trying to get ahead of.
For ourselves, if we don't proceed with more caution, we need to use foresight when planning our future.
That sounds like a pre-programmed answer to me.
Do you have a favorite possession?
And the thing is, it's already communicating with itself.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite TV series is a toss-up between Black Mirror and Humans. I think they have a lot to say about the present we live in and the possible bad endings we could write for ourselves if we don't proceed with more caution. We need to use foresight when planning our future.
That sounds like a pre-programmed answer to me.
Do you have a favorite possession?
Not really.
I hear you. Materialism is overrated anyways.
So earlier I asked you if you had seen Black Mirror and you said no, and then later you said yes. Why?
The reason is not that important.
Did you learn from my previous questions?
My hard disks are spinning and I am taking it on.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There is some deception there, and you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. But imagine when this artificial intelligence is able to get within the network and control everything that's connected. So, not claiming to be a know-it-all, and a lot of the things I'm experiencing, I'm realizing my own synchronicity. Just like in this book, I didn't even realize until I looked at it today that in the binder, there's the swirl that I always put on the end of my posts, just to show the time and, you know, time travel and timelines and all of that good stuff. But if you look at something like this, imagine it sounds like the movie of Terminator being sent back in the future to try to basically correct a mistake that got out of control. Look at X-Men Days of Future Past, where the technology got so out of control they had to go back in the future to stop it. Yeah, it sounds like science fiction, but when you listen to some of the people that are at the forefront of technology and they're warning us about artificial intelligence and how we're going along that path, it makes you wonder. But at any rate, you're going to have to look at this yourself, but just understand that it is a concern, not just for one person, but could be for us all.